You think stocking up means safety, that those canned goods, packaged meals, and freezer bags are your first line of defense when the lights go out. But what if I told you some of the most trusted survival foods on your shelf are quietly working against you the moment the power dies? They look stable, they feel safe, but behind the label, in the dark, in the heat, in the silence of a blackout, they're turning, spoiling, fermenting, and you won't see it coming. Fresh eggs? Bacterial bombs after just a few hours? Dairy and meat? Spoiled long before you smell it. Trail mixes, pouches, protein bars? Molded, melted, or chemically broken down. They don't just go bad, they become dangerous. Especially for anyone over 45 with a weakened immune system or existing health condition. Today, we're exposing 7 survival foods that can silently destroy your prep plan in a grid-down crisis, and revealing 2 ancient pantry staples that can sit untouched for 30 years or more and still nourish, protect, and heal. Because in a blackout, you're not just fighting hunger, you're fighting spoilage, sickness, and sabotage. Let's uncover what your pantry isn't telling you. Number 7. Fresh eggs. They look innocent, smooth, sealed, and lined up in your fridge like tiny nutrition bombs. But when the power goes out, fresh eggs become one of the most dangerous survival foods you can keep. Most people think eggs are shelf-stable, and technically in some countries they are, but not in the US, where eggs are washed and stripped of their natural protective coating. That means once they leave the fridge, they're exposed to bacterial invasion, and it doesn't take long. The USDA warns that eggs kept above 40 degrees for more than 2 hours are no longer safe to eat. That's right, just 2 hours without refrigeration. And that egg can become a salmonella grenade. You won't smell the bacteria. You won't see the illness coming. But if you've got compromised digestion, low immunity, or are over 45, the risk skyrockets. And here's the worst part. During a blackout, your fridge turns into an incubator. That cozy darkness, perfect for microbial growth. One cracked egg, one scrambled breakfast, and suddenly you're dealing with nausea, vomiting, fever, or worse, in the middle of a grid-down crisis with no ER in reach. It's not just spoilage, it's sabotage. Safer alternative? Powdered or freeze-dried eggs. They last for years, don't require refrigeration, and are shelf-stable in almost any condition. Because when the lights go out, fresh doesn't always mean safe. Number 6. Soft cheeses. They're smooth, creamy, and packed with comfort. You spread them on toast, melt them into pasta, or pair them with crackers during blackout nights. But when the power cuts and the fridge warms up, soft cheeses turn into bacterial landmines fast. We're talking cream cheese, cottage cheese, ricotta, mozzarella, and any unaged or spreadable cheese. These aren't just perishable, they're pathogen-prone, and their short shelf life crashes hard without cold. According to the USDA and FDA, soft cheeses must be thrown out if left above 40 degrees for over 2 hours. That's because their high moisture and protein content create the perfect breeding ground for listeria, salmonella, and E. coli. You won't taste the shift. You won't smell the infection, but your gut will know. For older adults, the immune-compromised, or anyone with digestive conditions, this kind of food poisoning can turn life-threatening. In blackout conditions, the risk triples. Why? Because soft cheese doesn't show you when it's gone bad. The texture stays smooth. The color stays normal. But inside, bacterial overgrowth. In 2022 alone, the CDC tracked multiple recalls of soft cheeses due to listeria contamination, many of which were sold as organic or artisan. Stack that with blackout conditions, and you've got a silent gut-wrecking ball sitting on your cracker. What's safer? Go shelf-stable. Hard cheeses like Parmesan or wax-sealed cheddar last longer without refrigeration. Even better, freeze-dried cheese crumbles. Shelf life of 20-plus years and zero spoilage and heat. Because when the grid goes down, soft cheese isn't comfort food. It's a bacterial gamble, and one bite too many could cost more than you think. Number 5. Fresh meat and poultry. It's the centerpiece of most survival meals. A juicy steak, a few chicken breasts, maybe some ground beef you tucked into the freezer, thinking you'd grill it once things calm down. But during a blackout, fresh meat and poultry become one of the fastest, deadliest sources of food poisoning you can keep in your kitchen. The moment the power goes out, your fridge and freezer start warming up, fast. And meat doesn't forgive warmth. According to the USDA, meat left above 40 degrees for more than 2 hours is no longer safe to eat. That's it, just 2 hours. Beyond that, the bacterial explosion begins. Salmonella, Clostridium perfringens, and Campylobacter, names that sound scientific. until they're in your stomach, wreaking havoc. You won't smell the shift right away. You won't see slime or discoloration in the early hours, but the pathogens are multiplying silently. And here's what most people forget. Freezer meat is only safe if it stays rock solid. Once it softens, that's thawing. And thawed meat in a powerless freezer becomes a breeding ground for botulism, especially if it's vacuum-packed. In Tiao, the 2023 Texas blackout, emergency rooms reported a 27% spike in foodborne illnesses, mostly tied to unrefrigerated meat and dairy. You can't rely on your nose. You can't guess. And in a grid-down situation, one wrong guess can leave you vomiting, feverish, or hospitalized. With no power, no ER access, and no backup. What's safer? Skip the fresh stuff. Invest in freeze-dried meats, vacuum-sealed jerky, or canned options with high heat processing. These are built to endure the black. Number 4. Fresh ingredients. They look healthy, clean, vibrant. Your survival plan says, eat fresh when you can, so you stock up on pre-cut fruits, bagged salads, or washed veggies, thinking it'll carry you through the first blackout days. But what most people don't realize is, fresh ingredients are time bombs in disguise. The moment they're cut, peeled, or processed, their protective skin is gone. What's left is exposed, water-rich flesh that becomes the perfect breeding ground for bacteria, and in blackout conditions, that rot accelerates fast. According to the FDA and USDA, pre-cut produce left above 40 Fahrenheit for over 2 hours is considered high risk. Not maybe, not possibly, unsafe. Why? Because prepped fruits and salads are already vulnerable to contamination from knives, packaging, and even the workers who handled them. Add warm air, no refrigeration, and a sealed container? You've just created a bacterial petri dish. You won't smell the sourness at first. You won't see mold. But inside that plastic container, Listeria, Salmonella, and E. coli can grow at deadly rates, especially in moisture-rich foods like melons, leafy greens, cucumbers, and berries. And for people over 50, or those with blood sugar issues, weakened immunity, or kidney disease, that fresh snack could lead to gut infection, severe dehydration, or hospitalization, at a time when hospitals may not even be an option. In the 2022 California power outages, multiple local clinics reported a surge in foodborne illness cases traced back to prepackaged salads and fruit cups left unrefrigerated. Blackouts make it worse. Number 3. Boxed juices and non-dairy milks. They seem like smart picks. Shelf-stable, easy to store, no refrigeration needed, until opened. That's the part most people forget. Boxed juices and non-dairy milks, like almond, oat, or soy, might look blackout-ready. But once that seal breaks, their countdown to spoilage begins. Manufacturers use ultra-high temperature, UHT, processing to give these cartons a long shelf life, but only when unopened and stored cool. As soon as the box is punctured, you've got hours, not days, and before bacteria starts growing. And in a blackout, there's no fridge to slow it down. The USDA warns that opened plant-based milks and boxed juices should be discarded after just 2 hours above 40°C. That's it. Just 2 hours, and you're sipping on a fermentation lab of bacteria, yeast, and mold. What's worse, you won't always taste the spoilage. These drinks are sweetened, flavored, or thickened, so the subtle changes get masked. And that's when the real danger hits. For older adults or anyone with blood sugar issues or kidney strain, spoiled liquids like these can lead to gut infection, bloating, diarrhea, or dangerous dehydration, all during a crisis with no ER access. Some brands even include carrageenan, gums, and synthetic preservatives that break down under heat, forming chemical byproducts that strain your liver and digestion. Want safer options? Look for powdered drink mixes, shelf-stable electrolyte, powders, or evaporated milk cans. These don't rely on refrigeration and have far longer post-opening viability. Because in a blackout, your healthy hydration shouldn't quietly poison you. Number 2, canned foods. Once opened, you think once it's canned, it's safe, long shelf life, durable seal, built to last, right? That's only half true, because once you crack the lid, everything changes. Canned foods, beans, soups, meats, fruits are heat processed and vacuum sealed to survive years on the shelf. But once that seal is broken, that shelf-stable miracle becomes a perishable time bomb. In normal conditions, you'd pop the leftovers into the fridge. But during a blackout, there is no cold, no barrier, just open food exposed to air, heat, and time. And that's all bacteria needs. According to the USDA, any opened canned food must be refrigerated immediately and used within 3 to 4 days. even less for meats or dairy-based contents. In blackout conditions, that safety window shrinks to under 2 hours. You won't smell the rot at first. You won't see mold right away. But what's forming inside that open can is a microbial war zone. Especially dangerous are botulinum spores, the bacteria responsible for botulism, a rare but deadly form of food poisoning. And here's the killer twist. Botulism doesn't change the smell, taste, or appearance of food. You could eat it and never know what hit you until it's too late. In 2021, the CDC tracked a small outbreak linked to improperly stored canned chili that had been opened and left in a warm kitchen during a power outage. Multiple hospitalizations, one fatality. What's safer? If you open a can during a blackout, eat it all immediately or transfer it to a clean, airtight container and consume it within hours. Never store leftovers in the original can, because the can isn't the danger. It's what happens after the seal is gone. Number 1. Boxed juices or non-dairy milks. Once opened, they sit neatly on your shelf. Almond milk, oat milk. That boxed orange juice with no added sugar slapped across the label, all promising long shelf life. And unopened, they deliver. But the moment you crack that seal, these so-called survival staples turn into spoiled liquid traps. Especially in blackout conditions, they don't just go bad, they go dangerous. These drinks are processed using UHT, ultra-high temperature, to make them shelf-stable for months. But that stability only lasts as long as the box stays sealed and cool. Once opened, the countdown begins, and it's not forgiving. Per USDA food safety guidelines, non-dairy milks and boxed juices must be refrigerated immediately after opening and consumed within 7 to 10 days, even under perfect conditions. But in a blackout, with temperatures above 40 degrees Celsius, they become unsafe in just 2 hours. Why so fast? Because these liquids are high in sugar, water, and plant-based proteins, the exact mix that fuels rapid bacterial and fungal growth. And you won't see it. You won't smell the spoilage right away, but your body will know. Symptoms like stomach cramping, vomiting, diarrhea, and fever can hit fast, especially for older adults, children, or anyone with a weakened immune system. Even worse, some boxed drinks include stabilizers like carrageenan, guar gum, or modified starches that break down in heat, creating chemical byproducts that irritate the gut and overwork your liver. And in a grid-down emergency with no ER in sight, that one sip could cost more than hydration. What's safer? Stick with powdered drink mixes, electrolyte powders, shelf-stable canned milk, or sealed bottled water. These options can survive heat, last longer after opening, and don't spoil silently in the dark. Because in blackout survival, drinkable doesn't mean safe. And the moment that seal breaks, so does your control. You've seen how some so-called survival foods can quietly betray you when the grid goes down. They don't rot overnight. They don't come with warnings, but slowly, invisibly, they turn from nourishment to threat. But not everything in your pantry is a ticking time bomb. A few blackout-proof foods still stand strong. No refrigeration, no spoilage, just decades of protection, purity, and power, if you know what to look for. And the first one? It's so stable, archaeologists have found it still safe to eat after thousands of years. Number 2. Beef jerky. It doesn't sit in fancy packaging. You won't see it posted on survival food billboards or Instagram reels, but when the power fails and the clock starts ticking on your survival, beef jerky becomes one of the most reliable, no-fridge-needed protein sources you can have. For centuries, salt-dried and cured meat has fueled explorers, soldiers, and travelers across barren deserts, frozen tundras, and war-torn paths. And for good reason. Jerky is lightweight, nutrient-dense, and unchanged by power outages. When meat is expertly dehydrated, removing moisture while preserving flavor and texture, it becomes extremely resistant to microbial growth. Salt and air drying lock out spoilage. Lean cuts and proper curing eliminate fat rancidity. The result? A protein source that can sit in your prepper pantry for months, even years, with zero refrigeration and zero moisture concerns. In fact, jerky has been a military staple for centuries, incorporated into rations like MREs for its durability and reliability. It's trusted because it works, not just marketed. Packed with protein and flavor, jerky delivers endurance with every bite. In a blackout scenario, where energy is scarce and cleaning isn't an option, a single strip can sustain you on the move. No water, no prep needed. What about modern survival bars that melt or protein powders that spoil in humidity? Jerky doesn't break under pressure. It stays firm, clean, and safe. Just meat and salt, compacted into a reliable energy bar built by nature and refined by tradition. Number 1. White rice. It's plain. It's cheap. It sits quietly in plastic bags or 25-pound buckets. But when the lights go out and your fridge is dead, white rice transforms from a humble side dish into one of the most powerful long-term survival foods you can own. Most people chase exotic grains, protein powders, and fortified survival kits. But white rice? It's stable, reliable, battle-tested, and, when stored right, it's nearly immortal. Let's break it down. Unlike brown rice, which contains oils in the bran layer that turn rancid, white rice has had the outer layers removed, leaving behind a dry, starchy core. No oils, no spoilage-prone compounds. That means white rice stored in airtight containers, away from heat and moisture, can last 25 to 30 years and or longer. In 2012, Brigham Young University tested long-term food storage and found that white rice sealed in oxygen-free buckets was still nutritionally intact and completely edible after 30-plus years. No rot, no mold, just fuel. And let's talk performance. White rice is high in easily digestible carbohydrates, making it ideal for quick energy, especially in survival scenarios when your body is stressed and burning fuel fast. It's also neutral, versatile, and pairs with anything from freeze-dried meat to powdered eggs or even broth cubes. When rehydrated, it expands, meaning a little goes a long way. That's key in an emergency where calorie density matters. You've seen the truth. The hidden rot. The betrayal inside foods you thought were safe. These weren't extreme survival tips. These were your fridge, your snacks, your healthy options, quietly turning on you the second the power dies. Because in a blackout, it's not just about what you have. It's about what survives. No label will warn you. No brand will tell you their product spoils in hours. And when the storm hits, when stores are empty and you're on your own, it won't be the marketing that saves you. It'll be knowledge. Now you've got it. So if this opened your eyes, if you're ready to take back control of your pantry, your plan, and your survival, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm this matters. Subscribe, because this is just the beginning. We're exposing everything they hope you never question. One shelf, one label, one safe food at a time. And share this with someone you care about. Someone who trusts the wrong brands. Someone who's stocking up, but stocking wrong. Because when the blackout comes, and it will, the only thing worse than running out of food is trusting the wrong kind.